And where were you when I founded the land, when they praised all the stars of dawn, and everyone rejoiced, sons of God? Job 38:4-7. Imagine it, a universe still formless, a silent abyss, barely touched by the vibration of the divine verb. And suddenly, light. Mountains emerge of chaos, oceans find their limits, and the sky stretches out like a blue canvas. It is the principle of the beginning. But the most disturbing thing is not how was created the earth. It is who was there to see her be born. Because according to one of the more texts, ancient and mysterious of the Bible, we were not alone. While God was plotting the foundations of the world, an invisible choir, called the Children of God, exploded in jubilation. Who were? They were not human. Adam did not yet exist, nor were they called angels. So, what were exactly? Because witness the creation of the earth, if it is assumed that everything began with He-Man. This detail, buried between lines of ancient scriptures, opens a door dangerous. The possibility that it existed a celestial race, powerful and conscious before the man. And if this is true, then the history of the humanity does not begin with Adam, starts long before. The book of Job is not a poetic fable. It is a work of profound wisdom, possibly the oldest text in the entire Bible. And it is there, right in its first chapters, where a disconcerting scene appears. God asks Job, almost like a challenge, "Where were you when I founded the earth?" And it doesn't stop there. He says that in that exact moment, all the people praised stars of dawn, and everyone rejoiced children of God. Who these are the entities that celebrated the creation, if it did not yet exist no human being, and even more so, why the most of the doctrines current overlook this fragment. In Hebrew, the term used is Bene Ha-Elohim, literally, the children of the Most High, not a metaphor. It is not a poetic reference to the humanity, because the humanity had not yet been created. Some theologians suggest that they are simply angels. But if they were angels, why was it not used, that word? Because give them a title as enigmatic as children of God. Could it be that this is a different heavenly category? A group with identity own, defined purpose, and memory of what happened before human time? If they were present when the world was formed, then maybe they know something we don't. And perhaps part of that knowledge has been lost, or has been deliberately hidden. If we accept that these sons of God existed before Adam, then we are faced with a revelation that overturns everything we thought we knew about the principle. And that forces us to do the inevitable question, who were they really? The most common theory says they were angels. But here, there is a problem. Throughout the Bible, the angels have names, functions and characteristics are very clear. Messengers, guardians, executors of judgment. However, these sons of God do not appear fulfilling none of those tasks, at least not directly. Also, if they were angels common, why are they not called so? Why grant them a name so specific, so divinely charged? This is where things get complicated, even more mysterious. Some scholars propose that these beings could be pre-existing souls, spiritual entities that already knew God before being placed in human bodies. A theory supported in texts like Jeremiah 1:5, where God says to the prophet, "Before forming you in he belly, I already knew you." Others go further. According to the enigmatic theory of the interval, or gap theory, between the first verse of Genesis and the second, there would have been occurred a previous creation, totally destroyed, a civilization pre-Adamic, a forgotten world, and these sons of God would be its original inhabitants, witnesses of a cosmic tragedy that predates man. And if this is true, then the history of the Eden is not the beginning, but a new attempt, a reboot, a second act, later from oblivion. In every great history, always there is a division, a choice, a moment where some they choose the light and others the darkness. With the sons of God seem to have occurred its same. Just because some of them they cheered the creation with joy, others, with a time, they rebelled. Here comes in scene one of the most disturbing characters in all of biblical narrative, Lucifer, a being of light, created with wisdom and perfection, which out of pride fell from the heavenly heights. But did it fall alone? The text suggests not. In the fall of Lucifer, not only was an act of individual disobedience, there was a revolt, and within that revolt, many they believed they were these themselves, children of God. Some they decided keep faithful, others defied his divine order. But it is not only the Bible the one that insinuates this. The old one, Book of Enoch, excluded of the canon but preserved for centuries, describes with detail to the cold watchers, angels who descended to earth, took human wives, and taught knowledge prohibited to the men. His act was not simply a moral transgression, it was a cosmic rupture, an attack on the divine structure of the universe. The sky split, and what once was harmony became at war. Thus began a struggle that never ended, only changed shape. Genesis chapter 6, a brief fragment, but one that holds one of the darkest secrets of Scripture. When the children of God saw that the daughters of the men were beautiful, they took for themselves women, and that union were born the giants, the Nephilim, a hybrid race, neither entirely celestial nor entirely human, a mixture prohibited. The result was a generation of colossal, violent beings with abilities and knowledge that surpassed any creature on earth. But these were not mere monsters. They were living symbols of a spiritual rebellion embodied in the meat. The world, contaminated by that fusion, began to deteriorate. The evil multiplied, and with he pain. And then, according to the biblical story, God made a drastic decision to erase that generation with a flood. But the trial was not only against the men. According to 2 Peter 2 and Jude 1:6, the angels who did not save his dignity were chained in prisons of darkness, reserved for the final judgment. The flood was an act of cleansing, but also of silence, a way of erasing the evidence of a crossing prohibited between the heaven and earth. A story so deep that even today many they prefer not to tell it. If all this is in the Scriptures, if the ancient texts they speak clearly of these children of God, of the Nephilim, of the Watchers and their fall, why almost nobody talk about it? Because in the most churches, seminaries and preaching, these passages are ignored, softened, or directly reinterpreted. There are those who, they say they are metaphors. Others they claim that they are ancient myths without spiritual relevance. But what if it doesn't? What if this silence is not accidental but intentional? Throughout the centuries, certain books, like Enoch, were excluded of the canon, documents that offered uncomfortable details, overly revealing visions, texts that suggested a more complex celestial war, an older creation, and a rebellion that continues influencing today. By hiding these narratives, it simplifies the history of the humanity. It is erased past before Adam, and with it, it is cut off access to a knowledge that could change everything. Maybe understand who were these children of God and what had happened before the Eden is key to understanding what we are experiencing now. Because when the uncomfortable truth, the easiest thing is not to deny it, it's to silence it. We think about they as figures of the past, beings that existed before the man, and they disappeared after the flood. But what if not everyone was destroyed? What if some still are here, moving between shadows? In the book of Daniel, chapter 10, an angel sent to deliver a message is intercepted by a mysterious entity, the Prince of Persia, a spiritual figure who blocked his walk for 21 days. This is not symbolic. It is a clear indication of an invisible war which continues ongoing. A battle between forces celestials that operate behind the human kingdoms. What if some of those fallen children of God were not imprisoned, but remain assets, influencing governments, manipulating ideologies, shaping the history from the hidden. The Bible suggests that the fight is not over, that we are still a battlefield between the divine and the fallen, and that the children of God, those ancient witnesses of the creation, they have not yet finished their work. So, the big question is not whether existed, it is what are doing now. And you, what? Have you ever felt that intuition that there is something beyond what's visible? That feeling that there is missing pieces in the story that they told you? Maybe we just discovered one of them. Do you think these beings are still among us? What do you think of this theory? Leave it in the comments. And if this history opened you the eyes, subscribe, because still there is many secrets to be revealed.